Here's another curious fact about how our brains work.
Yes.
We have a really hard time perceiving things that aren't there. Okay, if you think about it, over the course of human history, we've been optimized. Our senses are designed to see things that are in the environment. Okay, so I have a cup of tea right here.
Yes.
I can see it. I can feel it. I'm seeing something that's there.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. If a cup of tea should be there and it's not, I would have a much harder time recognizing that something is wrong.
All right.
Okay, and this is something called absence blindness.
Okay.
Now, great example from my P&G days. One of the first new product development projects that I worked on was actually for a cleaning product. I was working on the Mr. Clean brand
this is good, yeah.
at the time. And the product was actually really cool. Actually, two different products related. But the benefit of the product was that it would actually prevent things from getting dirty. So you could clean with it once, and it left some protective things behind that prevented it from getting dirty so quickly, so you could clean less.
That's cool.
Which is really cool, from a rational standpoint. It's like, wow, I could clean less than I'm cleaning right now, and it would still stay clean. Like that's really cool. Saves time, saves money, all of these things. So conceptually, it was a very exciting project to work on. Developed the product, actually tested it with real consumers, and what happened was it failed, flopped miserably. And we were trying to figure out why. And we were going back and reading some of the feedback from people who used it. And people didn't believe that it was working.
Wow.
Because they couldn't see it. So how do you show someone that it's getting dirty less?
Right. It's like you have to clean half your shower with it. Or
Exactly.
something.
Like you'd have to do it. And we could do that. We could do scientific side by side, this side clean, this side clean.
But people don't do that in their own bathroom, right?
And it didn't eliminate cleaning, which people would have noticed. It's like, man, I haven't cleaned for 15 years. This is great. I mean, that would be cool.
Right.
It didn't eliminate it. It did reduce it.
Interesting.
But because it wasn't something that you could see, people didn't believe that it was
That's
working.
rough.
And so we ended up canceling both projects that were actually really great, but we couldn't sell it. People didn't believe that it worked. That's absence blindness.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a hard time figuring out when something is not there. Okay, another classic example from management. Sometimes you'll have a manager that it looks like their job is really easy, and they appear to be really boring. Okay, everything gets done. No big drama.
Oh, right.
Just day in, day out, comes in, does the job, everything goes pretty smoothly. Okay? Contrast that type of manager versus a manager where everything is under fire. They are the hero, coming in and saving the day and getting things done and moving the ball forward and, all of these things.
Right.
A lot of activity, a lot of busyness.
A lot of drama.
A lot of drama.
Yeah.
More often than not, that drama is created by that manager not doing things that probably should have been done a long time ago. And that the fires that they're constantly fighting are fires of their own design. But because it looks like manager 2 is doing more than manager 1,
Right.
They're more skilled, they're more,
Right.
Have more of a go-get-'em attitude.
Right.
Manager
That
2
makes sense.
will often be promoted over manager 1 because it looks like they're doing more.
That is crazy. But
Even though manager 1 is far more effective. It's hard to pay attention to things that aren't there. Okay? This is also the reason, absence blindness, is also the reason why it's uncomfortable psychologically for us to do nothing. Perfect example. When the recession of the late 2008, early 2009, that is continuing, started, you can actually trace that back to a lot of the policies that the government had several decades ago that were encouraging people to take out all sorts of debt on things that may have been questionable decisions without that debt. Now, probably the best thing to do. So if the issue was created by, a policy that encouraged people to do stupid things, then stopping that policy and letting it wear itself out is probably the most effective thing to do. But doing nothing is a form of absence.
Right.
Okay, so from a governmental policy standpoint, it becomes a really tough sell that we should go to the public and say we're not going to do anything about it.
Right.
We're just going to let it work itself out.
Right.
They couldn't do that. They would probably not be elected again. But doing nothing is seen as not a very good thing.
Even if doing something is going to be less effective.
Or worse.
Which is the crazy thing.
Or make things worse. So, it's... Absence blindness is something we all deal with. And absence blindness is actually one of those things that is the reason why having people with experience is valuable. People with more
holes.
Yeah, they can see the patterns. They have more of a mental database of things to look at, and they can see things that might be missing. Okay, so an experienced project manager can take a look at your project plan if they have experience in what you're doing, and say, you know what, I'm not seeing this step.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not seeing, a contingency plan. I'm not seeing this. I'm not seeing that. And they can do that because they have experience, which is why good, experienced project managers are worth their weight in gold.
Right.
Which we'll talk about the planning fallacy and some of the things related to that later. But the thing is, experienced people can see absence a lot better because they have more of a mental database to figure out that, a teacup that should be there is not.
Yeah.
Which is why experience is valuable.
Yeah, something as simple as like counting kids on a bus. It's why a lot of times when they go on field trips, they count off because, you look at a bus full of kids. How can you tell if it's 34 or 35?
Yeah, exactly. Which is, I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things we'll talk about when we get to the working with yourself is checklisting.
Right.
So building a checklist or having a list of things that need to be there, and we'll deal with this in detail later. But a checklist can help you make sure that all the things that should be there are there.
Okay.
And so even, experienced pilots and surgeons and, all of these highly trained, highly skilled people will still use a checklist because absence blindness is something that affects all of us. And using a checklist is the best way to overcome it.
Cool.
Right? That's absence blindness.